Hello, hope you're well and benefiting from this course, and perhaps even by yourself being transformed, changed, feeling happier, maybe creating a happier environment around you. And today we're going to talk about how to deal with people's negativity. People inside are not negative, but their behaviors can be negative and unpleasant for us. And we're going to learn today the TATT method, which we haven't used yet, for dealing with that negativity. So first of all, you have to choose a specific behavior that you would like to work with. And we're going to look at a list that we had already looked at in the third lesson. So when others do not agree with me, if that's an issue you want to work with, then you can choose that. Okay. You might want to make a list of the issues that you want to heal. When they do not understand me, when they obstruct me from satisfying my needs, they prevent us from sleeping or eating or having the affirmation that we would like, or being free to move around and do what we like. When they do not respect me, when they think they are superior. These are possible stimuli which you can choose for the exercise we're going to do today. When they try to control or suppress me, of course, many times we believe that people are trying to suppress us or control us or whatever. We can often perceive motives in other persons that are not there, but because our history is that we have experienced that from people in our lives, we tend to project. Now, I'm not saying that you're projecting, I'm saying it's a possibility. And definitely there are people that want to control us or suppress us, or they may even just want to help us, but that may require their controlling us to help us. Okay. When they criticize us, you might want to choose a critical nature of a certain person to deal with. When they tell lies or gossip about us, that's another important issue. If you have that in your life, you might want to choose that and see if you can get free from it. When they harm us or harm someone close to us. Now, this is very difficult to get free from because uh, when the other person harms us or our children, our spouse, or our parents, it's quite natural to have negative feelings towards those persons. And as you know in this course, we advocate establishing boundaries and not allowing others to do us injustice to. But we advocate doing that without having negative feelings towards the other person. So we want to prevent others from harming us or harming our loved ones, but we also want to understand that they cannot really harm us if we haven't created the situation for that. And secondly, it does no good to have hate or anger within us. It's best to move forward in a logical way and see how we can prevent any harm from coming to us. The emotions, the negative emotions, would only feed the fire and increase the possibility that this situation will reoccur. If we don't want it to reoccur, then we have to make any efforts that we can to stop it from happening again, but at the same time, let go of the negative emotions we may have towards the others. This is the solution. When they have evil intentions or ulterior motives, the same goes here as what I just said. When they're negative, complaining, whining, criticizing, this is an unpleasant situation and very natural for us to feel unhappy when the other person is like this. So we may choose to work on this issue, uh, not getting sucked in to that negativity, to that complaining, not taking responsibility for the other person's reality. When they think they know it all, there are people like this. I'm not sure why that bothers us because our self worth is not diminished because they may know more or because they think they may know more. It really doesn't have to affect us at all. It's our own belief system which causes us to become upset when the other person is like this. When they give advice I have not asked for, we can also be annoyed by this, that I didn't ask for any advice and they're giving it to me. The reality is I really don't lose anything if someone gives me advice. Their advice might even be good. That may be my higher self speaking through the other person to me, or the universe speaking to me. And their advice may not be good, and we're not required to follow it. So the key here is to hear it without feeling any obligation to employ it. And so what we lose nothing. I mean, we get upset because there's a part of us that feels that it must comply and follow the advice. If we don't feel any need to follow it, if we imagine that a 4-year-old child is giving us this advice, then we accept it, we hear it. I would suggest thinking about it because it's not by chance that someone says something to us. And we have nothing to lose. There's no problem here unless we need their approval and unless we believe that we need to do what they're telling us. If we don't believe that, it's not an issue. When they play the role of the victim, the poor me, and want attention, here we need to become very clear that we are not the creators of their reality, and they are not the creators of our reality. We may be the victim of the victim, because every time the victim is not well, we are getting upset because we feel responsible for their reality. And so now we are the victim of the victim. So we need to establish clearly that we're not creating their reality. We cannot create their reality, and certainly not create their inner reality. Their emotions, we can help them. We can support them. We can love them. We can ask them what else we might be able to do to help them. But there's no reason to feel upset because they continue to feel unhappy. We cannot create someone else's reality. It's important to understand that. When they do not take care of themselves or do not carry their load, another possible stimulus which may bother us. The person is not caring for themselves, and what kind of repercussions that may have for us. Do we have to care for them? Do we have to do what they would have done if they had cared for themselves? And not because they're not caring for themselves, we have more work to do. Is it that we feel responsible for their reality? We need to clarify exactly what is the issue for us here. When they make mistakes, now, why should we be bothered if they make mistakes? Well, if those mistakes have repercussions for us, or if we feel responsible for their development, and so that their mistakes are our fault. We haven't trained them, we haven't brought them up in a correct way, or their mistakes cost us money, or time, or energy. When they do not keep their word or their appointments, when they're late, or they make agreements and they don't keep them, and this causes us to lose our peace, lose money, lose time, lose energy. We need to see what the practical problem is and what the emotional problem is. We feel that they're not respecting us. These are all possibilities. When they are weak and dependent, some people may like the others to be weak and dependent because we get a sense of self-worth when they need us, but that can also be a burden for us, and it doesn't help them at all. When they act in egotistical and selfish ways, disregarding our or others' needs, this will obviously bring up emotions when the other person is not caring about what we need or what others need. This is a possible choice for working with today. When they use me or others, now we have to remember that no one can actually use us. We can bargain, they can bargain for us to do something because we are required to do something only if we choose to do it. They cannot make us, even if they put a gun to our head, they cannot make us do anything if we choose to die rather than to do what they're telling us. And that gun to our head is usually in psychological terms that they will reject us or not love us or not consider us to be a good person. Understand? So there's no actual real use. They can try to use us. But whether they're able to use us or not, it depends on us. We allow them to use us because we're afraid of saying no. We're afraid of not doing what they're asking us to do because we were afraid of the repercussions of such a choice. So there's not actually any using taking place. There's bargaining. We're bargaining our freedom for something that we want to get from them. When they are cold and insensitive, if this is a problem, choose it. When they are not responsible to their word or responsibilities, this is also annoying. Can't really trust them or depend on them. When they are lazy, when they ignore my needs, and when they reject me. These are all stimuli, situations, which very naturally bring up negative feelings. So, how can we deal with people's negativity? I'm going to make some suggestions here, and as always, you are free to accept them or not. Okay. What we need to understand that any negative behavior comes from a person who is not well. They're not happy. They may be sad or hurt or fearful or guilty or angry or insecure, rejected now or in the past. So negative behavior, all of those which we mentioned above, come from a person who is not in a good state. So they're not feeling well. It's important to understand that these are defensive behaviors on the part of the other person. Okay. Second thing we need to understand is that we are affected by their behavior through the law of sympathetic resonance or vibration. Because their behavior is in some way awakening within us a fear, a guilt, a doubt, a part of ourselves which we need to see. So the first is that if for that person to be negative, they're not well. They don't have a good self-image. They don't feel self-confident. They don't feel safe, and they're behaving in these ways. The second is that we are bothered only because there's a part of ourselves which is becoming energized, awakened by that. And you have to notice that people next to you will probably not be bothered by the same things that you are bothered by, and you won't be bothered by the same things that they are bothered by. We each give a specific importance and interpretation to every behavior. And I remind you of the example that I gave in a previous class. That is that when it rains and the seeds are energized and they grow into plants, the seeds have to be there. If there are no seeds there, it can rain for 100 days and no plants are going to come up. So the seeds are the parts of ourselves that become energized. Our fears, our childhood experiences, our beliefs, which become energized, awakened. They are triggering, their behaviors are triggering something that is in us. So the solution is to get free from what is in us. Now, if you can change their behavior, fine, ask them to change their behavior. I would suggest that, especially with an I message. But we will never be totally free until we free ourselves from what is within us, which is becoming energized, awakened by their behavior. Thirdly, that we are all in a process of evolution, which means two things, that we can change and the others can change. This is very important. Now, when we see ourselves and others as in a process of evolution, first of all, we cannot expect perfection. Perfection cannot exist simultaneously with evolution. It means we're in a process here. So obviously we have things that we can correct. And obviously the others have things that they can correct. I often ask people, well, how about this? Can you do this? And they say, no, I can't. I mean, can you ask, for example, I might ask them, can you feel okay even when the other person is behaving this way? And they say, no, I can't. And I answer them, the only thing you can really say is, I haven't been able to until now. You can't say I can't. You can say it, but it's not true. What you can say is, well, I haven't been able to until now. We're in a process of evolution. So let's not limit ourselves by the way we have been until now. I mean, if that's the case, then why don't we just continue behaving as we were when 15 years of age? I mean, we're growing, and let's keep on growing. And secondly, the other can change. And when we have the belief that they're not going to change, then we're sabotaging the whole thing here. So if we're sure about how they're going to react, then we are contributing to them reacting in that way. So we need to understand that we can change and they can change because we're in the process of evolution. Now, number 6, life gives us what is best for our learning and growing process. Now, this requires faith, and you have every right not to believe it. I believe it. That life is always giving me unpleasant and pleasant situations and stimuli for my growing and learning process. There's nothing else really going on here in my perception. We are here for that process. Everything else we do is the scene through which we are learning. It's the area, it's the opportunities. Creating a family is an opportunity. Working is an opportunity. Our health is an opportunity. All the aspects of our lives are learning spaces. And so life is giving us, in relationship to our family, our body, our health, our finances, our work, opportunities to learn and grow. So this other person's negative behavior that you're going to choose today is a part of that. It's an opportunity to learn. One lesson is to be able to be happy even when the other behaves in this way. That's one important lesson. Not to allow my happiness to depend on what the other is going to do. I mean, that's the definition of no freedom. That is lack of freedom. I'm not free to be happy. My freedom depends on what the other person is going to say and do. This is not freedom. Freedom would be the freedom to be happy, healthy, feel peaceful, to love, regardless what the other person does. Now we're allowing the other person's behavior to control us, to dictate whether we're going to be happy or not. Now, another solution is to ask the other person to change their behavior. And we want to do this also in a loving and clear way. But the problem here is that if we cannot be happy regardless of what the other person does, the other person may not change because we may, or may not, but we may have made a soul agreement for that person not to change that behavior until we become free enough to be happy even when they do that. To free ourselves from our attachment and our dependence on what they are doing. The other's words and behaviors cannot change who I am. It's very important to understand that who we are is an essence. And that essence cannot be affected by what other people say or do. We don't need to do anything to protect our self-worth from anyone. It's absolute. It's unchanging and it's non-negotiable. People may think it is, but it isn't. So we need to let go of allowing the other person's words or behavior to affect how we perceive ourselves. This is a great mistake. It's very important to understand number 9. Each creates his or her own reality. The others do not create my reality or emotions, and I do not create the other's reality or emotions. I'm totally responsible for my actions, my words, and my feelings and choices, and that will be a part of my karmic evolutionary process, which means I will experience the results of those choices. And the other is totally responsible for their actions, but they're not responsible for what I do with their actions. Okay, and we are not responsible for what the others do with our actions. So each creates his or her own reality. Each is responsible for their actions, but not responsible for what the other person does emotionally in the way that they react to those actions. 10. We can combine love with spiritual discrimination. This is also important. There's a belief perhaps going around in society, that if you love someone, you let them do whatever they want. And if you love someone, you give them whatever they ask. And if you don't give them whatever they ask you, you don't love them. And if you don't let them do whatever they want, you don't love them. I can't agree with that anymore. There are times when love means not giving to someone, for example, heroin, or, or even money if they're just deciding not to work for the rest of their lives. Okay? So there are times when we need to employ spiritual discrimination. That will it be helpful for this person for me to give them what they're asking at this point? Or am I damaging them? I am allowing them to lose their own self-worth and their self-confidence by helping them or in this situation. And is it love to allow someone to behave unethically or unjustly towards me or other people? Or is love with spiritual discrimination seeing the soul inside and confronting that person with this fact that I believe and I feel that what they are doing is detrimental to me, that it's unjust or detrimental to themselves or others. So along with love, perceiving whether giving or allowing is actually the best solution for somebody. We need to distinguish between the other's soul, or the other as a soul, I would prefer that terminology, and the other's personality. The other is not his or her behavior. So we need to distinguish. There is we don't like the behavior. We find the behavior annoying. And we would like the other person to cease behaving that way. And we would like to get free from being upset when the other behaves in that way. Both. But the other, the soul, is not his behavior. The behavior is a function of his thought processes. And there's an essence in there. In my perception, there is actually a divine essence in there. But the mind is not allowing that divine essence to flow into the being, into the behavior. And the behavior is defensive. It's egotistical. But the other being is a being separate, independent from its behavior. So not confuse the behavior with the inner being, which is there. 12, we may need to learn to assertively stand up for our rights. This, however, does not require conflict or aggressiveness. So assertive means that I am standing here, I'm not giving up, I'm not moving back, but I'm not also becoming aggressive, and I don't need to conflict. It is peaceful demonstration. I assertively explain to you that I need a change in behavior here. The reasons are that I feel rejection, I feel upset. I'm not willing to give in here. I want to see a change. So assertiveness, but without aggressiveness, without rejecting or hurting or criticizing the other person. 13, our best option is to continue our spiritual evolution. All of these events and stimuli, especially other people's behaviors which bother us, are just learning opportunities. They're stepping stones for us to step on, to learn from, and keep moving up in our ability not to be affected and to understand that people are unhappy when they're functioning this way and don't understand it, perhaps even forgive them. Our transformation is our greatest gift to others. It's important to understand this, that when we transform ourselves, what we're doing actually is transforming a part of the common subconscious of humanity, or the morphogenetic field of humanity. And so we are actually making a change in humanity every time we change ourselves. Every time we become a person who can absorb and transform negativity, we are helping society. We're not holding on to the negativity. We're not suppressing it. We're not allowing it to affect our body and mind. We're transforming it into understanding, into clarity, and to love and forgiveness. So we don't need to go around reacting And neither do we need to hold on to our pain. We need to transform it. In energy psychology and the method we're going to do today, TAT, I believe is one of the best ways to do that. 15. We need to understand, accept, and love ourselves and the others, uh, forgive the mistakes, and others as we are. This is the ultimate solution. Understanding, accepting, and loving ourselves and others as we are. There's really no other solution higher than that. We are not the target. The other is releasing negativity. There's a book by Laura Huxley, the wife of Aldous Huxley. What she wrote this book, "You Are Not the Target. We are not the target." And what she's saying there is that other people, when they don't feel well, they let their negativity out, usually on us, and usually on the closest person, the person they feel safe to release their negativity on. But we are not the target of that negativity. We don't have to take it personally. The other person just wants to release that, and then they're fine. Now, if we hold on to our pain because they release their negativity on us, then it becomes a vicious circle. So realize that the other person is not happy. They don't have higher ways of dealing with their pain. The only way is to lash out on the closest persons, on the safest place. They can't do it out in the supermarket because they'll probably get hit by somebody else. So they lash out at the closest people, the loved ones. And so we need to understand this process. And if we take that negativity and then we throw it on back at them, let's say it's a hot potato, okay? So the hot potato is in our hands. Now it's too hot for us, so we can either throw it back at them or throw it on someone else, and they will throw it on someone else. And this negativity is going all around, or we can cool the potato. And this is where energy psychology comes in. It's cooling the potato. Okay, this negative energy came from this person. Let's cool it down, not hold on to it. We can explain to the other person that we're not happy about this behavior, but it's totally different to say, I'm not happy. I feel rejected. I feel injustice here. Another thing is to say, you're a horrible person. We don't need to hurt the other person because they hurt us. Well, they didn't actually hurt us. They gave us a stimulus, and we transformed that stimulus into hurt. 17 and 18. Avoid the roles of parent and child. Now we're not talking only about parents and children, but getting into the role of the parent with someone who is in the role of the child. That could be our spouse, and even we can be in the role of the parent to our parents. We're now playing the role of the child. Prefer relationships adult to adult or soul to soul. It's a problematic relationship when one person believes that he or she is responsible for the reality of the other person, and the other person feels that really the other is responsible for his reality. This creates a lot of problems. Actually, there are no actual parents and children. We're all fellow souls in the process of evolution, and we choose to play these roles for a temporary period of time as an opportunity to grow and learn to love and to accept and to support each other. So let's prefer adult to adult or soul to soul relationships. Maintain a high level of harmonious energy with healthy food, exercise, breathing techniques, relaxation techniques, meditation, prayer, creative activities, whatever helps you. Our level of energy and the quality of our energy to a great degree controls our emotions. So let's give about an hour each morning for exercise, breathing, meditation, relaxation, prayer, whatever is you find comforting and balancing. Let's eat properly, keep our energy high, and a lot less behaviors of other people are going to bother us. Learn to be happy with life as it is. The more happier we are, the more life brings us stimuli which cause us to be happy. The more unhappy we are, the more life brings us situations which increase our unhappiness. It's a circle of energy. So happiness is a choice, just as love is a choice. Okay? So we can choose to be happy in any situation. It may not seem appropriate in some situations. Um, I remember specifically at one time when at the funeral of my father's funeral, I was 30 years old. He was assassinated when I was 30. And at the funeral, I happened to see people I hadn't seen in many years. And I, greeted them with happiness, having not seen them in so many years. I was very sad about my father's assassination. That was in me and a part of me. But also, I was also happy. And it seemed inappropriate to some members of my family that I was expressing this enthusiasm and seeing these people. So it may seem inappropriate in some situations not to be happy. To be happy if my loved one is not well, it seems inappropriate. But am I helping my loved one by my unhappiness? Or am I bringing him down? This is something you have to choose for yourself, to learn to be happy with life as it is. 21. Let go of attachments that are creating conflict or pain. Every pain, every conflict, every negative emotion, without any exceptions here in my perception, are caused by attachments. It may be difficult to see them in the beginning, but if you look for them, you eventually be able to see them. And behind this pain, behind this negative emotion, this anger, this hurt, there is an attachment to someone's opinion, to someone's acceptance, to a certain person being in our life, to a certain appearance, physical appearance, a certain professional situation, a certain amount of money. All of our human pain is caused by being attached to someone or something for our self-worth, for our feelings of security, for our feelings of freedom, for our pleasure, and for our feelings of meaningfulness. Develop self-respect and respect for others. We need both. We need to learn to respect ourselves, but also to respect others. Recognize and accept our own faults. When they were stoning the woman who had committed adultery, Christ said to them, okay, whoever has not sinned, let him throw the first stone. I remember this. I keep this in my mind every time I see my mind criticizing, finding fault in others. It still does it. But I quickly remember, you? How many faults do you have? How many mistakes have you made? Okay. So let's look at ourselves. That helps us. But let's accept ourselves with our faults. And accepting ourselves with our faults is a major step towards accepting others with their faults. If we cannot accept our own faults, then it's probably going to be difficult to accept others with their faults. So let's work on accepting ourselves and others with our faults. So today we're going to start out with Ho'oponopono, Sedona method, which we'll incorporate into the TATT exercise. Now, because we haven't done that yet, some words about that. This is Tapas Fleming. She has created this method, Tapas acupressure technique. She is an acupuncturist. So this is a position of hands that she has created in the specific right hand in the front here like this, and the left hand in the back of the neck. You'll see it again below. And we have developed a way of just placing the hands on the heart and find we have the same results, but it's your choice. Bring to mind the situation, the stimulus which is bothering you, and feel and accept your feelings. Okay. Here we usually place Sedona method as a way of doing step one. Step two, now bring the event to the mind and also bring alternative perceptions of that reality that free you from the negative feelings. Now, in the previous lesson, we mentioned many alternative perceptions about the others that they were once 5 years of age. They're being controlled by their own ignorance, by their own false perceptions about ourselves, that our self-worth is immutable. It's an aspect of who we are essentially within us, that we are safe, that we are immortal beings, and that then third is the category of universal laws. If we may have chosen this event as a growth process, that life gives us only what is in our benefit for our personal evolution. The third step, and this is you see the positions again here. We accept a light which flows within us and heals all the causes of this experience and any tendency to repeat it or attract it again. So what you believe, if you believe in a God, if you believe in a light, if you believe in an energy, we're allowing something to remove from us whatever aspects of our being. And we discussed these in the Ho'oponopono lecture, okay? Almost 20 aspects of ourselves which can attract different behaviors and situations. We're allowing them to be removed. And the fourth step, which is quite interesting, is now we're allowing that light to remove all of the effects this experience has had on us, on our self-image, on our body, on our perception of men, our perception of women, our perception of people in power, our perception of money, our perception of sex, of love, of anything, of our work. So we want all the effects of this experience to be healed and removed. This is stage 4. All the time the hands are in this position or simply in this position, which we have found equally effective. And you can go back and forth if you like. Fifth stage is to identify with the perpetrator. In this case, the perpetrator is the person who is behaving in the way that it's annoying you. When we do this exercise for self-forgiveness, then we are the perpetrator, and we do the same exercise. Okay, so we try to feel what that person is feeling inside when they're behaving in this way. What's going on? Are they fearful? Do they feel hurt? Do they feel guilty? Are they angry? What's going on in there? We want to see if we can understand that. Now, many people say, how am I going to know? And my answer is just try it. You'll see. It will come to you. Put yourself in the other person's position for 3 minutes. Sixth stage, now we cultivate understanding and compassion if we can. This is optional, okay? It's good. It's beneficial. Now understand, okay, this person is suffering from these fears, these illusions, these problems. They don't really love themselves. They don't have enough self-acceptance or self-confidence. They're trying to protect themselves in some way, whatever it may be. And so we're understanding and having compassion. And if possible, in this sixth stage, see if you can forgive them. Now, we're going to talk in another lesson about the process of forgiveness. And if forgiveness is not possible today, don't worry. There are a lot of steps before forgiveness. Now, the TATT method incorporates forgiving the perpetrator. But if it's not easy for you, don't worry. We're going to talk about what we can do in order to be ready for that stage. And the seventh stage may seem strange, that is that we accept and love ourselves as we are, because we may need to forgive ourselves for allowing this to happen, or we may even believe that we have had some kind of implication in this, and somehow we may have behaved in certain ways which may have stimulated the other to behave in the way that he or she is or did. So we also want to forgive ourselves for any implication in this dynamic, okay? And so here's the email for asking for more on this subject. So now we're going to do the TAT exercise. You can relax, sit straight, and we will prepare to do that. Okay, you can sit with the spine straight. Breathe slowly and deeply. Take deep breaths, but relaxing breaths. With each inhalation, allow your body to become straight. With exhalation, relax. Now let's let the abdomen relax. And the solar plexus relax. Let's allow the shoulders to relax. And allow the jawbone to relax, the joint of the jaw. And the cheeks relax. And the eyes. And the temples. And the forehead, and even the top of the head. Now you can bring to mind behaviors which have bothered you in the past or now in the present. What kind of behaviors are those that affect you most? And choose a specific behavior. And allow yourself to feel the feelings that you usually feel. Now you can place your hands on the chest or the right hand at the forehead, as you saw in the image, and the left hand at the back of the neck, or simply both hands in the center of the chest. And if these positions become tiring, you can relax them and then reassume them if you choose. So we're feeling the energy flow between the hands and the body. And we're experiencing the emotions that we usually have in those cases, realizing that we are not the emotions, accepting them as energies that are created by our minds, but that we are not them. We exist without them. And the emotions expand and flow outwards, dissipating from the body, and expand and dissipate from the energy body, and they expand and dissipate, leaving the mind. And we realize the specific beliefs which were creating those emotions, the needs. Was it need for self-worth, or security, or freedom, or pleasure, perhaps control, meaning? And let's allow the light to flow in us and free us from these perceptions so that we can experience within us our own self-worth, security, and fullness. feel the hands on the body, wherever they are, and the energy flow. And we're moving on to stage 2, where we bring the stimulus to mind and bring to mind alternative perceptions. How else can we perceive the situation? Let's start with alternative perceptions concerning the other, realizing that he or she is a soul in the process of evolution, who has been programmed in the childhood years, see the other as a 5-year-old child, being programmed by society, by parents, that he or she, in a way, is a victim of their programming, their childhood experiences. Let's also remember that our self-worth is an absolute, having to do only with the fact that we are expressions of divine consciousness, that nothing the other can do can diminish that. Also, as immortal beings, we are safe. And let's feel our self-worth and security as we focus on the other's behavior. That is, our self-worth and security are totally independent of the other's behavior. Also, we may want to consider the fact that we may have chosen as souls this experience as a growth opportunity. That life gives us only experiences which give us opportunities to move forward and upward. Consider what you might learn from this experience, how you can gain from this experience, what you can gain. Now, we're going to move on to the third stage, accepting light and energy to flow within us and remove all possible causes for this experience and any possible cause for it to repeat. So letting go of fears, attachments, guilt, behaviors, perceptions, any aspect of our being which might attract such a behavior. Let's allow ourselves to become totally free from any aspect of our being which might attract such a behavior. Now, the fourth stage, we accept that light, allow it to flow into our being and free us from every effect, any effects on ourselves, on our bodies or minds. Any effect on our body, allow it to be healed. On our perception of ourselves, Allow it to be healed. Our perception of males, let it be healed. Our perception of females, let it be healed. Our perception of those in authority, let it be healed. Our perception of money, let it be healed. Our perception of love relationships, let it be healed. And every other perception, let them be healed. Now we're moving on to the fifth stage. For a few minutes, see if you can imagine that you are the other person. And see if you can experience their reality, especially in the moments that they're behaving in this specific way. What might they be feeling? See if you can experience their reality. What are their emotions, their needs in those moments? Now we're going to move on to the sixth stage, where if you are ready, see if you can feel understanding and compassion for the other. See if you can understand them and feel compassion. And if you are ready, see if you are ready to forgive them. If you cannot, it's okay. But if you can, see if you can. To free them from all responsibility for your emotions and your life. Now the seventh stage, let us focus on ourselves and let us forgive ourselves for all implication, all participation in this situation. We have always done the best we could and are doing the best we can. Let us understand ourselves and let us forgive ourselves. And if you like, let's feel an opening towards the universe or towards the divine, however you may perceive the divine. And let's accept healing energy. A sense of light or healing energy flowing through the body, creating peace, and peace creates health. So let's allow ourselves to feel that peace and that health. Now I'm going to count from 1 to 5 to complete the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We can relax. We will talk about this method again in 2 future lessons, one on forgiving others and the other forgiving ourselves. Today was just about dealing with negative behavior. Think about serious situations you would like to forgive in others and yourselves for these future lessons. Every time we forgive, we become freer. Freer from the illusion of the past, freer from negative emotions, freer to be happy and healthy, and freer from needing to experience the same stimuli over and over again until we learn to let go. So I hope that you will try this exercise a few times more before watching the next lesson. Be well.